Hi, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving week. All the more reason to have some all good things. Today, I am so very happy to be joined by a dear friend of mine, the wonderful Yasmin Vasugian. We were colleagues and then great friends at Headline News, and she's a superstar. She is now over at MSNBC, where she is an anchor and has her own show. And there's her beautiful face. It's so good to see you.
So good to see you. It's been so long.
Oh, I just miss having you in Atlanta. So I was explaining to everyone that you and I were at Headline News together, and then you're a superstar. You've catapulted over to MSNBC. You have your own show. And I wanted you to come on because something that you revealed and talked about was so vulnerable and spoke to so many people. And it says so much about you. It's why I love you and why you're a dear friend. You're authentic and real. So for people who are tuning in, can you just talk a little bit about what you shared in your article that I linked in my stories, but in case people didn't get a chance to read?
Yeah. Before I do though, you have become like a pro on these IG live stories, and you are so incredible. I let me just say, the only reason I look like camera ready at this point is because I just anchored an hour. Otherwise, I would be here in a hoodie with like my hair wet, which is what I normally do with these IG lives. I've taken advantage of the fact that we're all at home, and I'm now showing up like completely unprofessional. So you're lucky, my friend, that I brushed my.
Girl, same. You know me. I show up at work 90% of the time and people are like, Lynn, are you sick? I'm like, no, this is just how I look in life.
But you look like next level beautiful on these. And so I'm like, I have to bring it for Lynn Smith today. By the way, I'm like, I'm always having to, you're still your other name in my phone.
Wait, we've known each other that long.
I know, I changed it. Okay. So I digress. Here's what I'm here. So I guess it was I think it was last summer. So it was last summer or so. And I don't think you knew about this like
I didn't.
that I had. So it was last summer or so that I decided to reveal this kind of secret about me, which is I have this huge birthmark on my left leg. And it was something that I covered up my entire career because I felt as if while so much of what we do on television and as journalists and as anchors is a lot about the substance and what we read and learn, it's also about, at times, to our dismay, the way that you look. And I was always nervous that I wouldn't necessarily get the jobs that I want and that I'm going for because of the fact that I had this birthmark, and I would put a dress on and suddenly someone would say, well, what's that? What's going on? And people would kind of attack me on air over it. So it's something I always kept, had covered up. I would wear tights with dresses. A lot of times I would wear pants a lot. And I became an expert at wearing jumpers and choosing things that would cover it up. And it was funny because people would always be like, wow, Yaz, you have such cool style. Like, you always dress so cool. But for me, what I had always wished I could do was dress kind of more normal, which was like dresses the way so many of you guys dressed all the time. But it was something I was so insecure about. So I just never wore. And it came a point where I was just I got really frustrated with having to cover this up for so long. And so I think after having my boys and wanting to instill in them kind of like body confidence and just being confident in who you are, really, because boys and girls deal with it the same, sometimes girls more so than boys, but nonetheless I don't want them to grow up thinking that my mom hid who she was. It was that, and it was also just kind of this like pinnacle of frustration that I had hit, which was I'm exhausted and this is who I am. And I feel like if I'm going to be telling other people's stories on television and, through the medium of TV and writing, then I need to be honest with everybody about who I am if I'm going to tell other stories. And so I'll tell you, the moment that it happened was I was doing a photo shoot with Mika Brzezinski, who hosts Morning Joe. And I was wearing this blue jumpsuit that I think you've seen because I had it during HLN times.
You were the master of the jumpsuit. I was always jealous of that because I can't pull off a jumpsuit to save my
life.
life.
But like I was jealous of your DVF dress. I to put on like a normal dress. And so I was wearing this jumpsuit thinking like, oh, okay, I look good. Like it's a great color, whatever. And Mika said to me, she's like, Yaz, I don't like the jumpsuit. It's not like showing you off the way that I think it should. And just put a dress on. And I was like, like horrified. And I'm like, and meanwhile, there was maybe 12 to 14 people in the room. And she's like, just put one of my dresses on. I'm like, I don't have a dress. Just put one of my dresses on. I'm like, okay. And she's like, don't worry. And I just had a baby. I had just had my second. and Nor. And she said, don't worry, you'll be fine. Like thinking that I was insecure that I may not fit into the dress because I just had a baby. And that was not at all what I'm like, no, that's fine. But
no, forget my fupa. That I'm embracing.
that I can get over. I have Spanx. What I was worried about like walking out with a dress on and everyone was like, would be in shock. Like, what is that? Which of course they would say like, what is that? Because it's different. And so I took Mika into the bathroom and I said, Mika, I have the secret. I have this birthmark. And she's like, you have to come out with this. Like, nobody cares. You have to come out with it. And she's like, write about it on Know Your Value. Because she has this, medium Know Your Value in this brand. And I'm like, okay, you're right. And so I did. Like, I put a dress on and I did the photo shoot and I wrote about it on Know Your Value and went on the Today Show with it. And now I'm wearing a dress right now. Now I wear dresses on air all the time.
Well, I mean, you didn't just come out with it, right? You didn't just embrace something that you have hidden from your whole life. You came out on the Today Show. Like, you went all in. I just want to get, like, what was that feeling? Because, of course, it's empowering, but there had to have been some fear. What's everyone going to say?
So, first of all, no knock to NBC, but I always imagined it would be with Oprah.
We all dream everything happens with Oprah. Don't worry.
And Chanel and Al, but I was thinking this was going to be Oprah convo. But no, are you kidding? It was so intense for me because they came to my house and first of all, they did a package on me, or, a story on me package. They did a story on me, which was odd in and of itself because we're used to doing stories on other people, not on ourselves. In which I had to fake play with my kids and pretend I love my husband, who I love.
But, you had to look at him longingly.
Exactly. And worry about what I was casually wearing. And then they presented it on the Today Show when I did this thing. And it was so nerve-wracking to see. I'm like, oh my God, all these people are about to see this. And I was like, I couldn't even watch it. As they were presenting me, they played the piece and then they brought me in and I was like in shock. But it was really enlightening and kind of it just let this weight come off my shoulders, which in a way I was like, I could breathe again. And it's not and I said this on air too, it's not like that happened and then suddenly everything was great and okay. It was just more that, because I still struggle, I still struggle with it, I still look twice in the mirror before I walk out of my office to go on air. But it was it just gave me the courage to, everybody knows now, so I don't have to hide it,
And I asked people before you came on to share things that had happened to them that they've been hiding, that they embrace. And I'll get to what some of those are, but I want to tell anybody who's watching to chime in the comments if they want to share what it is, or maybe it's something that you still feel like you can't talk about. But you were saying, you were thinking to yourself, everybody out there is looking and watching, and that you still kind of have a little piece of it that you hang on to. How do you hope to shed that last little piece of this?
I mean, I don't know if you ever really shed it. I think it's like anything that and this is kind of what's coming full circle for me right now is, sure, I have a birthmark, but all of us have something, right? I'm sure you have something. So many of my other friends have things that they feel as if they've been insecure about their whole lives that they've carried around, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's anything you ever really conquer. I don't think I'm going to be 90 years old and just be so gosh darn confident. I mean, by the way, I wish, but there's so many people that I still look to who are older that still deal with the same insecurities, that have accomplished everything in their lives and beyond, and still have some of the same insecurities that we have, in our 40s. And so I just aged us.
I'll own it, baby. I'm ready. I'm in my 40s and I am enjoying every second of it. So much better than my 30s.
That's true.
Yeah.
So true. But it's, you don't ever really get over it. I think you just want to get to a point where you're comfortable, where you're happy with who you are and where you're at. And you understand that whatever it is that you've been carrying has made you who you are today, and you're proud of that person today. Right. And that's where I've gotten. I don't think I would be where I am in my career. I don't think I would, possess the skills that I have as an interviewer and as a journalist and as a storyteller had I not had this, had I not had this that made me different. Because one of the reasons why I set out to be a journalist in the first place was to help people, you know, without a voice, to tell other people's stories that feel misunderstood. And I think it's because I have felt misunderstood for so long and have felt judged for so long, that I want to give the opportunity for others, because I have this voice now, right? I recognize that I can communicate with people in a way that others necessarily can't necessarily. And so this, you know, coming full circle with that understanding that I got there because of this. This is one of the reasons, is huge for me. And it's something now that I'm like, you know, really dialed into, I guess, in a way.
And we kind of glazed over it, but I had no idea. I mean, we were dear friends. We are still dear friends. We just don't get to see each other and have like umi dinners together. But we lived our single days together in Atlanta. We met our husbands. We had babies. We talked so much about so many different things, and you never even told me. And I was when I read your story and when I saw it was ironic that you were worried that it might impact your career, and the exact opposite happened, right? So now I see you on TV and you were amazing at HLN, but you're even more, you're just so confident. You're so sure of yourself. And in television, that's what makes you different. I mean, anyone can present a story, but your confidence and your compassion is what makes you different. And so it's ironic that what you were so afraid of is the exact opposite of what happened.
I know, it's just crazy, right? Because, and that's normally what happens. I mean, think about it like something as simple as, let's say, finding the partner, like finding the person that you love, right? Like it's always when you're not looking, like when you're finally happy with where you are in your life, that things come to you, that you meet that person, that you have that experience that you've always been longing for. It's those moments that you're feeling insecure and like longing for those experiences that that doesn't present itself. And so I've come to this point where I feel like now that I've embraced who I am totally and fully, and again, it's not like I'm totally healed. But now that I've embraced who I am totally and fully, it's like I can completely be me, and I don't necessarily always feel judged. Sure, I'm insecure about a lot of things, but I don't always feel judged and worried that I'm going to say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing and that I'm imperfect and I'm going to be overlooked. It's I can just really step into who I am more so than ever before. And you have to take chances like that in your life in order to do that, even if you feel as if everybody's going to judge you for it. Like it's important just to be honest with yourself and the world about it.
Yep. And one thing, I do some of these workshops with people when it comes to how to really be authentic for yourself. It's really like unleashing you and shining and things like that. And I say your weakness out loud. My weakness, ironically, is public speaking, which is
You would never know it, by the way.
Well, this is what I do for a living, right? I can sit here and I can look in a camera and I can be fine. But you put me in front of a room of 500 people and I am a blubbering idiot. And my voice is shaking and butterflies in my stomach. And I didn't realize how much power it had over me until I said it out loud to a huge group of people. And I just said, this is not my forte. This is actually my greatest weakness, is public speaking, because no one would suspect it. And it just gave it so much less power. And I think that's similar to what you did, is you said it, and yes, you had it out there on the Today Show, but it just lost some of the power it has over you when you let it out.
Yes, it's so. See, you said it so well. You did so much more eloquently than me. It's just like you have to own it, and instead of allowing it to own you. Like for so long, it owned me. I just, with the way that I dressed and what I did, and feeling so insecure about it, and I allowed it to own me and dictate what I was and wasn't doing. I mean, I missed out on experiences because I was worried that I'd be judged, like an invitation to the beach or doing things like that that I didn't want to do because I was worried that people would judge me, and I allowed it to own me and miss out on certain experiences in life. And now I'm owning it. I'm owning it. And again, every day it's a struggle. Every day there's some days that are better than others. But I'm owning it, and also when you look at your kids, I want my boys to think my mom was exactly who she is. Like she was never ashamed of it, because like, I don't want my son to have something, who knows what he's going to have when he grows up, that he's going to be insecure about, that has probably been caused by me as his mother. But nonetheless, like, I don't want him to think like, well, look, my mom was so insecure about it, she never owned it, because kids, they're so smart, they pick up on things like that. I want them to have that type of confidence and to think, well, my mom can do it, so can I. And so, you can't let these things own you and like drive your life, because if you do, then it's like you'll just be stuck. It's like feeling like you're in prison in a way.
Yeah, you'll be stuck. I think that's the
Yeah.
perfect way of putting it. See, you were more eloquent than I was. I asked people before you came on
Yeah.
to share some of the things that they have embraced. The number one thing was aging, which I thought was really interesting. And Dr. Robbie Ludwig, who I've had on before, chimed in. I don't know if she's still on the IG Live, but she was on early when you first came on. She's written a book about like owning your best age that it's now. And I think so many people feel like they start to lose their hair. They start to gain a little bit of weight just because that's life. That's metabolism. They start to lose some of their energy. And aging was something that a few people chimed in saying that they had to embrace. Another thing that someone said was embracing that I am shorter than my wife. So many of them had to do with physical things, which I found to be really interesting. Yours did as well, right? It's what people see about you.
And I think that's what's tough, right? In our society, that's the first thing that we see when you walk into a room. So it's always like this, you always go to the physical. And I think that's kind of what we need to work on as a society and as a community, of getting rid of, to accept people for who they are, what they look like, even if it doesn't live up necessarily to the norms that we put out there. As a man, you must be taller than your wife. If you age, it must be aging beautifully. You have to age a certain way. You have to look a certain way. I mean, we have all been slaves to kind of what it is that society expects of us. And, again, it goes back to like, you can't be a prisoner to what society is expecting of you. You have to just be yourself. And then society needs to get along with it. They need to understand that this is who you are and this is who you're going to be. And you don't need to worry about them. I think that's what it comes down to. I mean, I don't know about you, Lynn, but like, actually the other night I was thinking about aging, and thinking about like, okay, I'm not able to lose weight as quickly as I was able to in my 30s. My wrinkles do, show a lot more. If I don't get a good night's sleep, it shows so much more. I mean, all of these things, especially now during the pandemic and COVID and being a mom, a working mom, and dealing with the boys, and it's a lot. And you feel like it ages you every day. But again, all of this has gotten to you to where you are now, and it's made you who you are now. And that's kind of, the feeling we need to continuously embrace throughout this whole thing. Like that person, for instance, who said that they're shorter than their wife, and they don't necessarily like that. Like, they're a couple for a reason. They love each other. Like, nobody cares. Nobody cares.
I want to glaze over. Sorry, finish up that.
No, and that the only person that notices it is you, not you being Lynn Smith, but you being the person that feels shorter,
And something that you said that I don't want to glaze over is society has to get on board with it. Society has to grow up and be human and accept people. I have so many people that comment on my appearance for better or for worse, right? So if, I have some guac and a margarita over the weekend and happen to have a belly, they're like, are you pregnant again, Lynn? Like, you can't gain 5 pounds. Yeah, definitely not. Let's just reveal it on IG Live. Meanwhile, my husband passes out in the corner. We're too old for that. But like, society needs to be just as mature and embrace differences in people as we do ourselves. So the person that sees your birthmark for the first time looks at that beauty of you embracing it, not the difference of your birthmark in somebody else's leg. And I think that goes also to parenting, of all of us learning how to teach our children how to embrace differences and different cultures and different appearances. And I just didn't want to glaze over that, because I think that's a huge part of this. Like, we can do our part, but if everybody else doesn't, then it's not going to go farther.
Especially now, like, this country, obviously, as we well know, after this election, is just so incredibly divided, right? And so I think it's just so important that we need to listen to each other, embrace each other for who we are, and the experiences that we bring to the table. Even if those experiences emotionally, physically are different than yours, it doesn't mean they're any worse. than the experiences that you've had, you know, and I think we just need to keep that in mind. Like you only want to be treated, you want to treat others the way that you want to be treated. Right. And so that's why, like, yeah, and parenting is huge for me. And it's been such a huge theme for me in these like last 4 years that I've been a parent, because like for my kid continuously, there's this book that I read for him. It's called Wonder Boy. I think Wonder. Is it Wonder? Or you know what I'm talking about? The book?
I don't, and I want to know what it is because I mean, I'm always looking for new books that encourage them.
It's called Wonder, and I think they made a movie about it with Julia Roberts. But my sister got me the book, and it's a children's book, and it's about this boy who looks very different. He has one eye. I mean, it's a cartoon book. He has one eye and nothing, no other facial, no other eye, no mouth. And he says people laugh at me and people, but I'm a wonder, and my dog loves me, and I go off to space, and he just has all these experiences. And then there's this one little boy who befriends him in the book, and then they become like a unit, and they talk about acceptance for children. And I read this book. My friend Lindsay just logged on, and she said she reads this book to her son Reed all the time. Hi, Lynns, love you.
I love it. I'm buying it on Amazon today. Wonder.
It's the best. And I read it to my kids all the time, and I love it. And I'm like, and the best part is I look at my 4-year-old Azra, and I'm like, so as we accept everybody, yeah, mommy, okay, can we watch Mickey Mouse? I'm like, get it. But I pat myself on the back like, I
get it.
Life lesson.
No, I have this book. It's called Moody Cow Meditates, because my 4.5-year-old can have a little bit of an attitude and just gets really angry. So my mom gives me this book, Moody Cow Meditates. And it all talks about angry thoughts and all that. They totally soak it in. So the other day he's leaving, and he has a little, he's being a little, what. And he's like, I just have some angry thoughts, Mom. I'm going to put my angry thoughts in my angry thoughts jar. And I'm like, okay.
Does he actually?
Here we go. Yeah. I mean, I have to, what's that?
Does he have a jar? Is there
We had a jar. We got an angry thoughts jar for him to put things in of like, what are you so mad about? Man, parenting's hard.
Oh,
so hard. We could do an entire IG live on that. But before we go, I want this piece of advice from you, because there might be people that are watching that are thinking to themselves, there is their birthmark that they can't quite come to terms with yet. Or maybe it's something that's really big, like announcing to their family about, being gay, and they want to embrace their sexual differences. Or maybe it's somebody that decides that they don't want to be in the relationship there anymore, and they need to embrace leaving their loved one. What do you say to the person that's not there yet? How do you get there?
I'm actually watching right now just said a speech impediment is their struggle. And their job includes public communication. So that obviously, and actually our next president talks about the fact that he has a speech impediment, and he's been pretty open about that as well. He's had a stutter his whole life. I think, again, it's so odd for me to feel like, I'm going to give you advice, but I'm not giving advice. You just got to be you, because there's no other way to be. Everything else is a struggle. Life is already so darn hard, and me, Lynn, like the only thing I can do is be honest about this stuff. Like, it's just, I can't really be anything else but me. And so at this point, like, you just have to be yourself. There's so many other tough things that we're dealing with in life right now, especially this year. I mean, 2020, come on, give us a break. But it's all so hard, whether it's parenting, jobs, partnerships, relationships, whatever it is that we're all struggling with in our lives, because all of us have a different combination of all of the above. The easiest thing in a way is to be yourself, right? The easiest thing in a way is to just embrace who you are, and don't worry about how other people are going to accept you, because if they accept you, it's because they love you. And if they don't accept you, then screw them, in a way. Excuse my language.
So true. Yeah.
And the more that you embrace it, the more people will gravitate to you. The more that you embrace yourself, the more people will feed off of that, and want you around them. And I used to do this experiment, like when I was, in high school, and, we would go out to, like, maybe it wasn't high school, maybe it was in college. And I would, like, go out to, like, a club or something. Right. And I was like, oh, I'm going to meet a guy. And I would do this experiment where I would say, like, I'm going to pretend like I don't care. Right. I'm just going to walk and pretend like I don't care. And inevitably every time I got so much more attention when I just didn't care. I know it sounds so like small in a way, but like you can apply that type of scenario to every situation in your life. If you are just yourself completely and totally and own who you are, you know, warts and all, birthmark and all, it'll only do well for you. You know, everybody else has to get along. You don't have to adjust for them. They have to adjust for you.
Oh, I love that. And to this CO 7649, your speech impediment, I have to say, saying something out loud, if you are doing public communications, saying it to that group so that they
So
know
true.
you, it's you. And so what Yasmin is saying is be yourself. So look at them and say, this is part of me. And I feel really proud of myself for coming up here, despite you might think that this sounds different, but I'm here and I'm doing it. And vulnerability equals connection. It's something I always talk about when it comes to television. It's just the more vulnerable we are, the more people will connect with you.
So here's like a little trick that obviously, you know, Lynn, you know, but this is a trick that we use in television, and it's especially in breaking news scenarios, right? So breaking news comes, the prompter gets blanked. All you have is a person in your ear telling you what's happening, and it's you and the audience. Right?
Yep.
That's it. And one of the tricks that I have in this, and everybody does it different, but I think it's a pretty good one, honestly, I have to say, is I'm very transparent with the audience. I'm like, I sometimes will talk to my control room. I'll say, like, say Lynn is my producer. I'll say, hey, Lynn, is this what's happening? And then
that's authentic.
Okay, and I'll communicate to the audience, like, I want you to understand this is a fluid situation. We're getting this. As soon as I get it, I'm bringing it to you. And I say things like that so you understand where I'm at. And it can be applied like that to everything in your life. So for instance, as you just said, Lynn, if you have a speech impediment, just start it off with, hey guys, I have a speech impediment. Just FYI, you know, but we're going to get through this together, you know, and just put it out there. So it's not an impediment for you anymore. So it's not something that stands in your way. It's out there and you're owning it.
I love your sweet friend, Lindsay, that also said, I think for so many women, being forced to do the impossible lately is causing a lot of women to lose themselves.
Yeah.
It's such a point. Work and managing kids at the same time is so hard, and we need more resources around. I did a IG Live last week on how we can do that. I don't know if you guys saw Allison Patel, but I would go back and watch it. She has great advice on how we can support other women, because right now it is completely impossible what everyone is expected to. And when you say, Lindsay, lose yourself, I think part of losing yourself is not knowing how to embrace the things about yourself, right? You can't be you if you don't even feel like you have control over your situation.
You'll have to take time out for you, even amidst all of the craziness that we're dealing with right now, to like feed yourself. Even if it's 5 minutes, you have to, I mean, you know, I was talking to a friend of mine, a colleague the other day, like, I feel like we're just all martyrs right now as like moms and women, with having to do so much, manage the house and our jobs and ourselves and our emotions and
our husband who are like, where's this? Where's that? I'm like, why am I in charge of the things?
I don't know. I don't care. Figure it out.
Seriously. Okay, go on. Sorry.
Sometimes. Hope you're not watching. Bye.
Bye. I want to be the dad sometimes. I just want to be the dad. I'm gonna hang out over here, and you just tell me what you need me to do.
My husband went surfing yesterday.
Oh, my husband's golfing right now. Yes, fine. Everything's fine.
Is this a personal call or an IG Live? What are we doing?
What's that? Yeah, I hope he doesn't watch it because he'll be so mad at me. He helped me out this morning. I will give him that. He helped me out this morning.
Ah, Graham.
Graham.
You sweetie, I miss you so much. I can't.
I know. I miss you too. I just feel like this is such a great way to remember all of the things that we can do to better ourselves. Like, I feel like this has made me reassess a lot of things that I look at, that I feel insecure about. And you're such a wonderful inspiration, in addition to being such a dear friend. I love you and I miss you, and keep doing all of the great, incredible work you're doing. You are just shining and you are in your complete element. And I'm so proud of you.
We have soon in Atlanta. We
have. Yeah. Get here.
Well, when the pandemic's over.
When we can actually travel. Yes. I'm not going to come to New York. You come to Atlanta. I love you.
I love you. Let me just say though, for anybody who's watching, listening, if you guys have stories that you want to share, if you have things that you feel like are your impediment, your birthmark, shall I say, actually message me on Instagram because I would love, love, love to hear them and you know, talk about them. Thank you,
I'm
Lynn.
going to remind people of that also when I post this video. I'm going to put a link to your Instagram so that people know exactly where to DM you all of their stories, because if you can inspire even just one person to embrace their difference, you've clearly already made a difference. Love you, girl.
So
Talk
sweet.
soon.
Bye.
Bye.